Elmina-based Benya FM. It was attacked yesterday. The presenter was beaten. He was just discharged from the hospital. What really happened? They said they were having a radio discussion that centered on the premix fuel, its distribution, the cartel that has been hoarding it, and all of that. And they were here when some muscularly built individuals stormed the station, disorganized the entire thing they were doing, and so the discussion had to come to a halt. In the process, they had to subject the presenter. Let me engage the presenter who was beaten. He said, what exactly really happened?
I was at the studio doing my show as it is every Monday I did. Then a bunch of people rushed into my office and started beating me without asking me anything.
What was the discussion about?
The discussion was about the premise, how they share it, and today, that day, the MCE did his best to let the place become. But those people, they said they are the people of the MCE, and they bunch in that they want to take their share of the premise. And after the incidents, I asked, what are they doing with the premise? Because they don't have canoe, they don't have anything that will make them come, and even the carts that they use to take the fuel, they don't have some. So, and I was advising the MCE that I've heard that they said the boy is in his camp. So if a person is in your camp, see their welfare, give them something to do, and let them stop going to the fuel station, doing whatever they... That was what I was saying. I was advising the MCE.
So your concerns were that these people that were given the premix fuel, they are not fishermen,
yes,
they don't own canoes,
yes,
and ordinarily they do not qualify to be given a premix fuel.
Yes, sir.
So what ensued thereafter?
After that, I was in the office doing my daily job as I did.
So you were on air?
I'm on air doing my show as it is. And
tell me how the entire thing unfolded. They rushed
into the studio, and they said, we are here. We have come. We heard you calling our name, so we are here. Then they started beating me.
What kind of beating did they subject you?
The papajache hit me on the side of my chin, and the other one also hit me on the side of my chin, and the other one, which is Kung Fu, he pulled my leg from the seat, and everything which is on my head was, even the off my shirt and everything, and they beat me from inside to here. So I hit my head on this thing.
So this is the studio.
Yeah,
this is the transmission room.
Yeah.
So they brought you here. They pulled you from the studio
and brought me here. What I heard, one boy was saying, let's bring him out. Then they brought me here and did what they want to do, and they went away.
Why are you convinced that these people are from the camp of the MC?
I know them.
So why is it that if you know them, have you reported them to the police?
Yes, yesterday we did that.
Have you heard that any arrest has been made?
No, so far.
So after beating you, what has become of you? Did you go to the hospital?
Yes, I went to the police. People came here. They took some things, what happened here, we told them, and they took me to their office, and they gave me a form to go to hospital. And yesterday I went to the hospital, and there was no doctor, but they assured me that today they will see to everything and it will go over.
So here we are. And that's the latest. Benya FM and Blessing assaulted there. And all for what? Because we are saying what ought to be said. I guess at some point, our leaders want us to worship them and hail, everything is okay. But we have to reflect the reality out there. So we talk about attacks on journalists this morning, and we discuss with some stakeholders what exactly the trend is. Martin Kpebu is a lawyer. He joins the conversation. We also have engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, former Managing Director at the Graphic Group and also CEO of the Chamber of Telecommunications. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
We also have Mr. Afil Moni on phone, President of the GJA. Mr. Moni, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Your Excellency.
That got
Yes.
Excellency. Okay. Please wait till I get there. I'm not there yet. Definitely not. All right. But no laughing matter where I'm starting from. Assaults on journalists and on media entities. Mr. Moni, you are our head, so to speak, on these matters. I'll start with you. Looking at this trend, and you know what's interesting? I've been looking at a number of stories. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Every year we have them. But let me be, candid. It's not restricted to these years. But I'm just saying that year in and year out, we have these. And in fact, just about 2-3 years ago, we had some people talking about the fact that the way we are going, it will affect our press freedom rankings. And indeed, it has. So the birds have come to roost, or the chickens. But what is your initial reaction to this latest one in Albina, Mr. Moni?
It came as a good shock, earth-shattering shock, because we were ruminating on the devastating results of the rankings by Reporters Without Borders.
Right.
Here we are, a country we tout as a beacon of democratic accomplishments, a country we tout as a reference point in standard measure of press freedom, only for us to be sentenced from the 30th to the 60th position. And in fact, there's a huge growth on image, and so we're trying, ruminating, and then praying and pining on what to do to bring about a resurgence on the league table of media systems in the world. So this has come to dim any prospect of quick recovery on web press freedom index. But we continue to serve the way for optimism, because we believe that if stakeholders, state and non-state stakeholders, access to their things right, if people want to give us protection.
Mr. Moni, if you could just speak up a little. I'm struggling a bit to hear you.
I was saying that the monstrous attack on Benya FM and civilization of Eric Eshan came as an earth-shattering shock, in the sense that before the attack, we were all ruminating on the latest ranking by Reporters Without Borders, which sentenced the country which used to tout itself as the beacon of democratic accomplishments and a standard measure of press freedom from the 30th to the 60th position. So we're bearing in mind strategizing to see how best we can bring about a resurgence on the league table of media systems in the world, only for us to hear last Monday that some hoodlums stormed a radio station during a live program, beat up Enrique Shan, the host, vandalized the station, and then asked to pick their working spot free. And so this tends to give any prospect for another vertiginous rise on the World Press Freedom Index, all along with being serving a wave of optimism that, and by summoning the weight of that in 2005, when we were languishing at the sixth position, we were able to bounce back and found ourselves on the first spot in Africa and the 23rd in the whole world in 2018 as ranking media systems in established broadcasters like US, like UK, like France. But here we are. This has come to nourish our pain and fears that it will take much more effort to bring about the resurgence on the World Press Freedom Index.
Okay. Thank you for those initial thoughts. I'll be coming to you with that statement from the GJ in the Central Region. But let me bring in Dr. Ashigbe. Thank you so much, sir, for holding. Your initial reaction to yet another attack on a media house and journalists?
Well, for me, it's not a rude shock. It's not a rude shock. It's basically become the status quo. It's become the status quo because people do these things and, nothing really happens to them. And, we keep on going the same way. Now would say that we've seen a statement from the original GJA. So maybe that might be new. But just the statements are not good enough. And it's sad that at this stage as we speak, nobody has been arrested, especially when the journalist knows these people, reports have been made. The incident about the earlier one as well, we're not hearing anything. And it is important that the elements, of state, especially the police, deal with these issues with a lot more dispatch than they do. We remember that, Adan again, the Adan FM radio was attacked.
Right.
And nothing happened. It's interesting. Now we have a lot of CCTV cameras all the way, to all of these places. And, that one we are not able to. Now this one, fortunately, we know these people. And I'm hoping that the state will do something. But we also, and this where, for me, the likes of GJA and NMC, we need to be doing more. By this time, we should have some group of lawyers. I know my brother Samson and a few, Martin and a few others are ready to be able to support. But we need to put a system in place that immediately these things happen. We are able to, if the state will not do the criminal part, we also then bring the full force of civil, action to bear. And multimedia has demonstrated that that is able to happen. And we need to start, doing a bit more. And I'm also gladdened that today we have, Joy News taking up the incidents of, some other radio stations. And that's, for me, is another thing that all of us as journalists, we need to do. What are we going to do about this? Are we going to continue shining, our cameras, our, microphones, our pens on this particular issue? Making sure that the police in the Jumako, making sure that the police in Elmina do something about this particular issue. We go to the IGP and say that this also should not become like one of those, again, that, just gets reported and nothing happens to them. So we let people know that journalism is not a crime, and that if you touch a journalist, the fourth estate of the realm, as we call it, the full force of the law will be brought. Can you imagine anybody goes to attack the executive or attack parliament or go to court and go and beat a judge? What would happen to it? It's the same way we need to treat, attacks on journalists and attacks on everybody, especially in this particular case. So I'm hoping that the police in Elmina and the police in the Jumaku will not be waiting for anybody from Accra to tell them that they actually ought to act. And the only way they will be able to do this is if, as journalists, we train all our instruments and the legal force we have behind this particular thing. The reason why nobody touches the police. You've seen the way the police dealt ruthlessly with the people in that town where the gentleman was killed. Nkranza. It is the same way, it's the same kind of, democratic ruthlessness that as the journalists and as media we need to bring. We don't have the force of the gun, but we have the force of the pen. And we need to follow these cases till we get some resolution to be done with it. And I'll add that AFEL and Co, we need to now make sure that we establish a legal team that would be able to ensure that all of the cases that we have, we bring some pressure to bear on the state, especially the police, especially the AG, to make sure that we bring these people, these perpetrators, to book.
Right, and that is one crucial angle, Doc, that we're going to be getting into, because it appears people get away with things, and when they do, of course, these attacks will continue ad nauseum, if you like. Let me just acknowledge as well that we have Samson Ladi Anyanene joining the conversation himself, someone who has been in the thick of things, representing and also a journalist. Samson, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you. Mr. Ladi and Mr. Kpebu, please indulge me briefly. We're bringing in our reporter who is going to be telling us, Richard Kwejonako, who is going to be just narrating to us what exactly happened briefly. And later on, we'll also get the person who was beaten, Blessing, to share his story with us. But Richard Kwejonako will give us the entire tale. Richard, a very good morning to you. So walk us through what exactly happened.
Well, so this is a program that is aired Monday evening. They talk basically about the fishermen and then the challenges they face. So on this occasion, what they were speaking about was on premix fuel. You know, the premix fuel has become a major concern because the supply is not enough for even the fisher folk. And there have also been investigations that have come out to say that, well, there are some people that are not fishers, but they are beneficiaries of these premix fuel. They sell it to them and then they hoard them and later sell it to the fishermen at exorbitant prices. So these were the matters that were being discussed on that particular radio station when names of these three individuals that have now been arrested by the police, they went into the station, vandalized them, and then assaulted the gentleman. And so these were the matters that that transpired at the Benya FM. So the police, thankfully, they arrested one the following day, and yesterday we got information from the Ghana Police Service that they've also arrested two of the gentlemen. One is 25 years of age, and his name is Michel Asabre, and the other is Anthony Eshen, and 32 years of age. And these names were mentioned by the presenter when we interviewed him because he was very, very sure that he knows them because he lives in the community. And on that particular day in question, premix distribution was ongoing at that London Beach Committee, and that is where these premix they are distributed. And so he saw them, and he felt that these gentlemen, they did not qualify to be given the premix fuel.
Right.
They do not own use, and they are not fishers as well. But he opined that they are associates of the municipal chief executive. In fact, subsequently, we've gone to interview the municipal chief executive whether he knows these people, and he said, yes, I know them, but I did not instruct them to do what they did. The fact that you see some people around me does not mean that anything that they do, they are done under my instruction. And
So the MCE does admit that these are his boys, so to speak. These are his boys. Well, they are around him.
He doesn't really admit that they are his boys. He said that he is a grown-up man and he does not have boys, but he knows them. So the fact that he knows them doesn't mean that they are his boys.
Is that corroborated by those in the community or even Blessing? I mean, as far as what people see.
For Blessing, he is very sure, he's very categorical, very specific that these individuals belong to the camp. And you saw that in his narration, that these are people that are always with the MCE, and that is why he mentioned their names and went ahead to say that, well, this premium for the fishers are suffering because they do not even get the product to go on their fishing business. And so the MCE should, as a matter of necessity, find something for them to do rather than allowing them or giving them, instructing them, because when it comes to the premix fuel distribution, right, the assembly are parts, and so in terms of the hierarchy and the distribution, and then the authorities, they are part of it. And so he was telling the MCA that, well, find something for these boys to do. They are not fishers, they don't own canoe, so they are not supposed to get that.
So you can confirm that these two gentlemen who have now been apprehended by the police don't do much by way of work. Confirm that for me, and also confirm whether they are members of the ruling administration. Is that confirmed?
Well, so I cannot confirm that. It is the word of the presenter against the word of the municipal chief executive. I don't know them. I don't live in the community and I've not conducted investigations on their background, but the gentleman lives in that particular community, knows them. He even mentioned their names, one by one, how they assaulted, each of them assaulted him. And he said that, and when I called him this morning, he said that he could have joined via Zoom, but because his phone screen was broken in the process, and so he cannot even join via Zoom. And so that's how it is.
Right. And as far as the police is concerned, so these two people have been apprehended. What is the status? What have they been charged with? What is the police looking forward to doing?
Well, so yesterday when I spoke with a police commander, the Elmina District Police Commander, he said that they may be putting them before court. They are conducting further investigations and they may put them before court. But they are charging them for assault and destruction of property.
Assault and destruction of property. We have lawyers on our team who are listening intently, and they will be reacting to that. But the people in the community, of where the radio station is located, in Elmina, the immediate environs, how have they reacted to this?
Well, so they find this distasteful. They feel that it shouldn't be happening because radio stations that are dotted along the coastal belt of the country, one of the major discussions they hold, and so they have some topical issues relating to fishing because that is their base, that is where they are, and so often they talk about these things. And when I spoke with the MC, he indicated that that gentleman, the presenter, has been on his neck accusing him here and there, did not find anything good about this present administration, so he had cause to call the owner of the station to complain about that one. And with this one, because he feels that the presenter is mentioning his name, he would report the presenter to the National Media Commission for some actions to be done.
And so that could have been done instead of what has happened now with this situation. But to wrap with you, Richard, so as far as the premix fuel situation is concerned, have you interacted with the people on that as well to gauge the reality? And it's important that I make this point because whether or not the presenter was being factual is also something we're going to discuss here about proper journalism. So have you engaged the population about their access to premix fuel, and what have they told you?
Yes, it's really a concern to them. It's a border. So you get to Elmina, and Elmina is one of the busiest fishing communities in Ghana. You go there, you see that the canoes are there. They do not have premix to go. I mean, the Fisheries Ministry itself and the National Premix Committee itself admits that, yes, it is in short supply, and they have cited reasons, the Russian-Ukraine war and all of that. So even the little that comes to them is not enough to satisfy all of them. And then again, there is a cartel. That cartel sells, the premix fuel is hugely subsidized by government. And so if it is in short supply and people are in need of that product, and some people hoard the product, because the fishermen need the product to go fishing, they would have to buy it at exorbitant prices from people who are not fishers. And so these have been their concern. There have been investigations by journalists, and that have corroborated all of these.
Is it confirmed that sometimes party people get access to, and when I say party people, NPP, members of the NPP, get access to these? These are private individuals who are not even fisher folk, and then they go on to sell that. Is that corroborated?
Yeah, so it is a known fact. It's a known fact that, that is what they do. In fact, it transcends, or it goes beyond the present administration. The other administration too, it was happening. And so the vice president even had cause to introduce some kind of digital distribution where they would have their card, and then some chips would be embossed on the canoes, and then the fishers themselves. So if you don't have a canoe, if you don't have a registered number, you cannot access the premix fuel. And so all of these things have made leaders sit down to say that, okay, let's find a better solution to the disbursement of, or to the giving of premix fuel to the fishers, because we've seen that the cartel is there, it's been corroborated widely, and all of that. So if you go to the landing beach committees, that has been their major concern. And it is not only that, the premix fuel is sometimes distributed along party lines, because you find that even the fishers themselves, they are divided into two, NDC fishermen and MPP fishermen. So if you're not in that particular administration, you will not have enough fuel for your fishing expedition, and that is a fact.
Richard Kojunako, thank you so much for bringing us the scoop on that. We'll stay with you, and later, if you have any further updates, we'll pick them. This is how polarized we are. NDC fishermen, NPP fishermen, NDC premix, NPP premix. Interesting times. Let's get into the legal, tussle. Martin Kpebu is with us, Samson Ladi and Yenene as well. Let me start with you, Mr. Kpebu. Assault and destruction of property, those are the charges leveled against these gentlemen. Your quick reactions to these developments. At least here, we have some arrests.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that, well, it's heartwarming that the police have arrested the alleged perpetrators, but we would wish to urge that they go ahead with investigations swiftly and proceed to court so that we will get a speedy resolution of the matter. Because, sometimes an arrest can be made and it can take donkey years for the case to go to court. So that's how come I don't want to be excited too early when I'm not sure that the case will go to court swiftly and that the trial will proceed swiftly. So let's not start celebrating too much yet, but rather, if possible, you guys should continue to follow the story. Once you give it a lot of traction, it's likely to incentivize the police to see it through to its end because they don't want to be seen not doing their work. That's my initial reaction. And I also, let's quickly add this, even though it belongs to the way forward.
Right.
But you guys should come together. Maybe you should do some behavioral change adverts, okay? Run them constantly on your shows about how we need to stop attacking journalists. We need to do that. Let's not wait that until the new attack comes in, then we will come and educate the public. Don't touch journalists. Don't touch journalists. No. Season in, season out. Let's have a constantly running advert, giving education.
Okay.
You see, Owusu Bempa was convicted some years ago. How many of the young people know that? It's possible these guys who attacked this journalist were not old enough, so they don't know that even Pastor Owusu Bempa was convicted. So take some of those tapes, the popular people who have been convicted for attacking journalists and all that, then put it into a form of a video clip, behavioral change clip, and then let's play. Okay, very interesting suggestion you have there. But hold for me. Let me bring in Mr. Lade, Samson Lade Anyanene. Samson, so I'm looking at a story here from 2020 on the back of the elections and how the GIBA, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, had condemned attacks on media houses, and the members of the political class had criticized the media for allegedly doing the bidding of their opponents at the time. You put that side by side with what we see here, relevant because, again, you see some suggestion that this radio presenter was always, as per what Richard told us from the words of the MCE, was always going against what the MCE was doing or seeming to be in opposition. And here we find ourselves. Your reaction to this bit and the arrest as well.
Yeah, so first, I'll join my seniors and my latest senior also in unequivocally condemning this act. And it is heartwarming, like Martin says, that at least the police have commenced action. We have seen this too often, except that we will hope, like Martin said, we need to push to ensure that the prosecution will happen and that the prosecution at least has police officers who are committed to it, or in addition to that, they have some lawyer who is watching brief and helping to do some of the leg work and, if you like, the intellectual work for the police to use They will do the research. They will make sure they gather the evidence. They will make sure the evidence is properly preserved so that at the appropriate time, they will hand them to the police to use. Otherwise, we may see what we are too familiar with.
Right.
We have done matters where we had to start civil proceedings and then the criminal process, just doesn't move. The civil proceedings end. A year later, you get to discover that the criminal process, has terminated midway or nothing really happened. And the fact is that the private lawyer doesn't have any, control over the criminal process. It is the police, the prosecution, that is supposed to do that. Assault is clearly what you can see in this circumstance. And hopefully, if the case is established at trial, I'm hoping that the judge will exercise the discretion well. And because it's a misdemeanor, the judge will be entitled to punish them from 1 day or whatever it is to up to 3 years. I'm hoping that in this way, the manner in which they did it, the sanction can be the maximum, as in the 3 years, so that it begins to send some signals down there that this is wrong and ought not be done, causing damage to property. That is a second-degree felony. In the least, I'm looking that if it is established properly, maybe 10 years is too many years, but if that's what they have to suffer, they should suffer for it. Otherwise, we'll continue to have this impunity going on. The Constitution says in Article 24 that every person has a right to work under satisfactory, safe, and healthy conditions. And so journalists, like anybody else, are entitled, to work under safe conditions. They must be safe. There's no need, emphasizing that point. The Constitution says in Article 162, Clause 5, that all agencies of the mass media shall, and this is mandatory, they shall at all times be free. There ought to be that freedom. They are supposed to be free to uphold the principles, the provisions, and the objectives of the Constitution, and they are also to uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people of Ghana. If all they were doing was to share their view, however critical, of this situation with the fishermen and what they face, the fishers and what they face, the way for an aggrieved person to react is not to go there, beat them up, and destroy and damage property. It's absolutely not that this ought not happen. So let's see how the criminal prosecution goes. But I really hope that it will be taken very seriously. If they get any indication that it is not being taken as seriously as they wish, they are employers, and they shouldn't wait for pro bono work that, we are looking for some lawyer somewhere to come and say, I'm going to help you.
Right.
They shouldn't sit there and wait and say, we are waiting on the GJA to come to us and do what? The employers, should take the steps to engage lawyers to file a civil process against the interference of their rights, interference with their rights to work, interference with their rights to expression, which the Constitution says that expression in Article 21, 1A, that expression includes freedom of the press and other media. these rights clearly, as we can see, have been violated, and there is an avenue to ventilate them, to assert and ventilate them. The way to do that is through a civil suit for the appropriate declarations and for some damages. Of course, over the period, we have not been excited about the quantum of damages that is awarded, but if they are taken through the process and they are vindicated in the end, that in itself is good. And so I repeat that. Don't sit there and wait. And sometimes, I don't know what some of the managers of some of these radio and media houses, what they know and whether they seek advice on the things that they ought to know. They just sit there and wait. We are waiting on NMC. Waiting on NMC to do what? If you don't take any petition to the NMC or complaint to the NMC, what are you waiting on them to do? We are waiting on the GJA to do what? The GJA will issue a statement. Beyond that, what else do you want them to do? They may seek to bring pressure on the IGP and the police not to, drop the ball and to do their work, and to impress upon the Attorney General to ensure that these things, the prosecutions go on. Beyond that, what else can they do? And also issuing boycotts, which when they issue some of the times, we don't even comply as a media. We are not united. I don't know what's wrong with us. So media owners, like Dr. Kenashigbe said, should not just sit down and say, I'm waiting. GJA hasn't said anything, or beyond issuing a statement, they have done nothing. You have the right to engage lawyers. And it is not even all the situations that you engage lawyers and they will demand money or demand so much of fees. Engage lawyers, let them take up civil suits and vindicate your rights and get the people slapped with damages, and let the court make a declaration to the effect that they have done a wrong against you. Property is involved. You can get some specific compensation to, as it were, recover and replace the property that has been damaged. Of course, the criminal case will punish the individuals for the wrongs they have done with prison terms, but that does not bring money to replace the damaged equipment as well.
Okay, and that's a crucial point to make, because this is very expensive equipment. But just hold for me, Samson. Let me bring in Afilmoni. And per the statement that the GJA Central Region has put out, you're calling on the police to deal with this matter expeditiously. Only time will tell whether that will actually happen. But you also, and we can also reference another attack just this May, on the 2nd, on Prince Aqua, a journalist with the Ghana News Agency, while covering the Ejumako Enyan SCM NPP constituency executive elections at the Ejumako campus. He was basically filming an incident, a brawl, and he was attacked for filming that. So what are you going to do moving forward? Because the ball sort of is in your court now. Are you going to pick it and drop it somewhere? What is it? The NMC, the police? What is the GJA going to do after following this development?
Certainly, yes, we will continue to sharpen our focus on this issue, because it's not only a setback to media freedom, democracy, it's also a stain on our reputation as a country of democratic accomplishments in Africa. We are arranging a meeting with the Central Regional Police Commander and the party leadership in Cape Coast. So whilst we wait for the go-ahead to meet them in Cape Coast, we'll also urge the party leadership in Accra, the national executive for the MPP, to take up this issue with all-absorbing attention and all-consuming seriousness. Because on many occasions, we have party hooligans take the road to their hands and visiting mayhem on journalists in their line of duty. We believe that this is unacceptable. And what worries us more is the fact that we all know the spikes are out for elections 2024, the flurry of activities by the parties to lead the executive, their congresses here and there, all point to the fact that it's going to be very hectic between now and 2024. And we are disinclined to believe that what happened to Eric in Elmina, and then the alcoholic APA in Ejumako are a portrait of what will happen when the tension tightens when we get to the finishing line. So we are urging urgently the leadership of MPP NDC to roll out with all intensity a program to educate their members to keep their hands off journalists. And they should also be educated on the need to be tolerant, because tolerance, we all know, is the central tenet of liberal democracy such as ours. It's also an essential element for peace. But it is sad that political tolerance is on the wane, whilst impunity is on the rise. And impunity and tolerance don't belong to the same sentence. So if we are to see progress in our policy, see progress in civil discourse,
okay,
then there should be a lot of manifestation of tolerance on the part of political activists and, of course, their supporters.
I'll come back to you on some further developments, because the Information Ministry has also been reacting to this. But let me bring in Blessing Eshen, the victim in question. Blessing, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
If you could speak up a bit. I know these are telling times for you, but please speak up a bit for me.
Good morning.
Thank you. How are you feeling this morning, even before we get into...
By God's grace, I'm feeling good.
What is your emotional state after, do you feel traumatized after this event?
What I'm saying is, what has happened has already happened, and give everything to God.
So Blessing, I'm still struggling to hear you. That's my only problem.
What I'm saying is,
right.
What has happened has already happened, and we are managing.
You are managing. Did you sustain any injuries?
A bit, and what I feel now is when I breathe, I feel pain within me.
When you breathe, you feel pain within you. So your chest area.
Yeah.
Did they hit you? Just narrate to us how they manhandled you.
Okay. On Monday,
Do you have a doctor's report yet?
I was doing the show. A premise fuel has now become something.
Yes, Blessing, right before you go on, sorry for coming in like this. I was asking, so what was the attack on you? Do you have a doctor's report, for example?
Yes. I went to hospital and they have given me the necessary medication that I'm on course doing it.
Okay. All right. Do go ahead with the point you were making.
On Monday, that is my show at Perikua, and I was doing it. And on Monday morning, I went to the scene where the premise occurred, and I met those boys, Papa Jati, Kompo, and Michelle. Those are the boys from the camp of the MC. They are MC boys. I don't know whether they fetch water for him, they wash their clothes. For what I know, it's his boys. So they went.
When you say they are his boys, what evidence do you have to back that claim? What makes you think they are his boys?
And invaded the place while they don't have canoe or anything, any gear that they work on it. Even the cars they use to get the permit, that they don't have them because they belong to that man. They are usually when they go there for some. And when I saw that, after everything, I went to studio and I was advising the MCE, but these boys, the fishermen are saying they are your boys. So if they are your boys, then Every father has the power to take up for his children. So please, find them a job to do so that they won't invade the place. Or speak to them that they should stay at home so that you will give them something every month. That is what I was saying. And the moment I finished with this, I was about to take another message, and then the boys rushed into the studio and they said, here we are. We heard our name. You mentioned our name. We have come. But when the rain hits, you say it hits you. Don't say it flicks on me. They beat me. They beat me mercilessly from studio to our conference hall to the corridor. What they did, bro, even the phone which is in my pocket, I didn't know that it had spoiled. Only if I got home yesterday, it was yesterday I saw that, oh, there is no call coming on my phone. So let me check. Everything is destroyed.
Wow.
It destroyed the studio, everything in the studio.
Was any of your equipment damaged?
Everything.
Everything is damaged.
Everything is damaged. Now we are off air.
You are off air.
Yes, sir.
What would you like to see at the end of this? We've had the incident in Adan, on other radio stations in the past, now your radio station. What would you like to see? The two gentlemen have been arrested by the police. What do you want at the end of all of this? What do you want to see?
I want the law to take its own course. Yes, the law must take its course.
Maybe just to wrap the conversation with you. So you feel these gentlemen, with their linkage to the MCE, could have done this with his blessing?
I don't know. Please come again with your
So I was asking you whether you feel from the interactions the gentlemen had with you, whether they acted on their own or whether maybe they were following orders from the MCE.
I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
And I can't tell.
Right. But are you at least comforted that they've been arrested?
Yes. But still, the law must take its course. Even if must be jailed, they must be jailed.
How about your studio equipment and the rest? I mean, would you like some compensation for that?
Because I need to go to work. That is what I do to eat. That is what I do to cater for my children. So they have to pay. They have to restore everything. Every single thing that has been spoiled. They have to restore it. And they must be jailed too. That is the law.
Is this a community radio station, and who owns it?
No, a commercial radio station, and our boss is Manoma.
Your boss is?
Manoma, the CEO, Manoma. That is what they used to call him.
Right. Would you be able to value, the equipment that has been destroyed in terms of cost? Would you have any idea?
No, that is in the hands of the technician.
Right. Blessing, well, we wish you the very best. We feel really sorry and we commiserate with you that these terrible things have happened to you. But we also pray that the law will take its course, like you're saying, and that will have some proper finality, conclusion to this matter. Blessing, God's blessings be with you, playing on words. And thank you for joining the conversation. And that was Blessing Eshan, the victim in question. Dr. Ashigbe, so I'm reading right here a tweet by the Media Foundation for West Africa, dated the 11th of December 2019. Further deterioration of press freedom in Ghana. And it says, critical times for press freedom in #Ghana as violations near alarming proportions. And it tags IFEX, Index Censorship, CPJ Africa, and the GIJN Africa. But when you look at the rhetoric, quote, Attacks on journalists have been rampant and severe. There is a growing sense of intimidation of the media and a growing culture of intolerance for dissenting views. There has been arbitrary and discriminatory enforcement of laws to shut down mainly pro-opposition media outlets. The independent broadcast media industry has been battling government over industry-crippling policy proposals. But interestingly there, Rapporteurs Sans Frontières, the Reporters Without Borders, in that year, in 2019, the World Press Freedom Index, we had dropped 4 places, thereby losing our status as Africa's best-ranked country on the index. Now, we've fallen by about 30 places. When you look at all of these developments, listening to Blessing, what is the way forward, Doc?
Well, thank you very much. And I think that on this program, there have been a few suggestions that have made. And I think one of the new ones is what Lawyer Kpebu had mentioned, the fact that, and it's one of the things I keep saying, that we as journalists need to train, constant, training of our cameras on these particular issues. And I think he comes up with a very splendid one that we need to put together. And this one, I think the GJA needs to lead us. Be able to put together some video clips, some jingles, some LPMs that all media houses should dedicate, sometimes on their shows to airing these things, educating, advocating, and also shining light on, the villains, the perpetrators of these crimes, showing them. And then also focusing on the victims, the martyrs who have, either been lost their lives, being attacked and all of that, so that people know that there are repercussions for these things that you do. Then also is the owners of media houses, people like myself who are publishers, who are owners of media houses. We should not be even hearing Blessing by this time. Who is the general manager of this particular media house. And I'm hoping that the GNA as well, Kofi, who is general manager for the GNA, by this time would also take up the issue of their journalists in Ejumako. They by now should also be getting the lawyers to start. We should not wait for the criminal actions to start. As we all put pressure on the police to act, let's start the civil action to be able to ensure that is taking place. Because for these equipments and all of that, to be, for you to get them back, it's the civil actions that should be able to lead to that. And then also for the MCE. The MCE is the chairperson of the Municipal Security Council.
Right.
Exactly. So, if once he says he knows these people, he should be dissociating himself from the actions that these people have taken. I would not, because I've not seen any proof of he ordering these people to go and do this, but so he should then let us know that if these people have done these things, he should definitely be dissociating himself from it. The MPP party in Ejumaku, for example, what are they also doing? These things of attacks, we need to let the politicians know that if they will not provide us security when we come to cover their event, then we should be telling them that the political party in the Jumako, all the media should tell them that then all the activities till they demonstrate that they would provide security for journalists who come there, they will not report their event. And so it is important, and this is not something that is limited to only just one party or that district. It's something that keeps happening. If you look at the tracker in terms of people who attack, politicians are also one of the critical people who also do this. So we should be serving notice to all political parties that coming to cover your event should not be the theater for us to be beating. You need to guarantee minimum safety standards. So far as we come to cover these events for you. But definitely, I don't know whether, so GNA is not a member of, GNA should definitely be able to get lawyers behind this case to ensure that, whatever devices this gentleman has lost, whatever challenges had come to him, we bring that to book. And then also the media house in Elmina also needs to do that. But then going forward, we need to ensure that going forward, we all dedicate some amount of time, some acres of space in our newspapers, focusing on these issues. We should be going to Ejumako, the police in Ejumako. We should be going to the police in Elmina, following the cases, at least on a weekly basis, giving updates to say this is what has happened. If nothing is happening, we report it. There's the situation of a gentleman, Pius, who was who was shot by an alleged national security operative during the elections. That particular gentleman has had 3 surgeries. There's a 4th surgery that's going to happen. As Samson and Lawyer Kwebu said, that case is going nowhere in court. You know, these are the things that I expect that you as journalists...
Do you feel that sometimes it is intentional that these cases don't see the light of day because the system itself truncates them? In other words, dockets get missing, this and that, intentionally.
I don't think that it's not a thought. I know that. I know for a fact. You cannot have a situation in which somebody has been shot. There's a victim, and then as we speak, the case had gone to court, you know, on 4 occasions, and it's been adjourned. And you know, look at when the elections happened, and nothing has happened. And it's because the person who is involved is supposed to be an alleged national security operative. So sometimes it might not even be, anybody doing it from above, but amongst because it's part of the security operatives, the police who are supposed to be prosecuting this case themselves will not be pushing it forward. And we have seen situations in which the Attorney General acts with dispatch when it comes to these issues. And that's the reason why I would also urge the Attorney General. It's about time he dedicates an office to handling issues on attacks on the 4th estate of the realm. So when these issues come up, they take it and they act on it with alacrity. The alacrity that we've seen in other situations, we should also be seeing it in this particular case. And for me, I'm disappointed that has not happened, you know, since we started this 1992 political experiment. We have not seen the 3 arms of government treat the 4 arms of the state as they would expect us to do for them when it comes to their issues.
Doc, poignant thoughts. So referencing what the Information Ministry says, the Ministry of Information condemns the reported assault in no uncertain terms and urges the police to promptly investigate and prosecute the alleged perpetrators accordingly. That is what they say. For you, Samson, is this reflective? Because over the last couple of years, we've had over 100 incidents of such assaults, if you're to tally them. Is this state failure? And are you hoping, do you have any hope that anything positive will come out of this arrest? Do we have something with us?
If we don't police the process, nothing will happen. Nothing. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. I've got a bit of an unstable internet because I'm in transit now.
Right.
Now, I'm saying that if we don't police the process, nothing is going to happen. And the managers of this particular station have the biggest responsibility. They sit there, fold their arms, and say they are watching for GJA or Dr. Kedashigbe.
Okay, it appears the connection is not too good. But gentlemen, I would like to say a very big thank you to all of you for joining the conversation. We have had engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, himself a media person through and through, former MD of the Graphic Group or the Graphic Corporation, and also CEO of the Telecoms Chamber. We've also had lawyer Samson Lade Anyanere giving us some legal perspective, as well as Martin Kwebu, also a lawyer, and Mr. Afeo Moni, president of the GJA. We also interacted with Blessing Eshan, the victim, and our own correspondent, Richard Kwejonyako, joined the conversation. This is how far we've come, and we're going to keep our radar trained on this matter. We're not going to let go. So these elements perpetrating these actions know that we've got our eyes on you, trained on you, our ears focused where you are, and we shall keep at this till this nonsense, yes, stops. Up next, we're going to the Achimota Forest. No, not literally, but we're talking about that saga in terms of the O family and where we have come. Stay with us.